This week on the Retirement Quick Tips podcast, I'm sharing with you some key takeaways from a unique and excellent book by Frank Hanna. It's called What Your Money Means and How to Use It Well. Today, I'm talking about the importance of stewardship with any non-essential wealth that you might have. Now, again, non-essential wealth has a very specific definition, and I talked about that in the last two episodes. So if you missed those, be sure to go back and listen to them so you understand what I mean when I say non-essential wealth. In the book, Frank Hanna says, no matter how much wealth may come to be ours, we never become more than stewards of those goods that have been placed for the time being in our hands to help bring about the universal destination of goods. Okay, so we are stewards. This is not a new concept. It's a concept that's popular in the Bible, in multiple instances in the Bible, and throughout history as well. Frank Hanna in his book talks a lot about very wealthy people like Andrew Carnegie. I'm trying to think of a few others he quotes in the book throughout time who also believed in this concept of there's a universal destination of goods in that they are meant for each and every one of us. Our non-essential wealth, it is not meant for our own pleasure, our own means, but it is meant to create wealth for the good of all. He argues that this is really the meaning and the purpose of non-essential wealth is to bring good to everybody. And we are called to be stewards. And what that means is that, we have ownership or authority over a certain dollar bank account balance, the goods of the earth that have been entrusted to us. But we have to ensure that we're doing what we can to use that non-essential wealth to bring about this universal destination of goods, and that it is meant for the common good and not for ourselves only. It's pretty radical. And one of my favorite examples in this book is talking about the President of the United States in relation to profession-related needs. So to do his job, the president needs a huge house, big staff, lots of black Escalades, bulletproof Escalades driving around, planes, helicopters, maids, chef, a dining room, and entertaining people multiple times a week. This would seem pretty frivolous for most of our circumstances, but for the President of the United States, it's not. And what's interesting is the author, Frank Hanna, talks about how this is a model for stewardship. So he says the president knows that these perks are only his to use, not to have, and to only use for a few years. For a term or two, the president controls those assets, not, however, as owner of them, but only as a trustee. He knows he must use them to fulfill his vocation, and then when his term ends, he must instantly and completely relinquish them. It is a model for us on this earth only for a time, and we'll be forced to yield all of our assets at the end of our term here. So I love this example because the president, whether he's there for 4 years or 8 years, has a very limited window of time, and he has to be a good steward of those assets and use them well in that time. And then he has to go back to whatever he was doing before. Usually, obviously, presidents live a pretty comfortable life when they leave office, but it's a good model for us to consider in the stewardship of non-essential wealth. The key takeaway here is that, again, the meaning and purpose of our non-essential wealth is to use it for the common good, to be a good steward of it, not for our own pleasure, vanity, selfishness, comfort seeking. There are certain types of spending that are justified and reasonable and good. And I talked about that earlier in the week, things like beneficial goods. Like, I'm not saying that you shouldn't have a golf club membership. I have a golf club membership and I love it. And it brings me rest and relaxation. It's like this oasis that I can go to doing something that I really enjoy. It's something that my husband and I do together. I've met friends and it's an opportunity to build and grow relationships with others. These are all things that this is something that is a beneficial good. And it's something that I can justifiably spend money on. But when we are looking at things, we have to be careful about how much above and beyond that, what is our non-essential wealth? And of that, what are we doing with that? And the call here in this book is to be a good steward of the non-essential wealth which you have been provided, and to not view it as your own to do with as you please, but to bring about the common good support the common good, and support community relationships and the thriving of other, and providing the fundamentals, basic needs, genuine needs, etc., to those who cannot provide it for themselves. All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Ashley Mitchikay, and this is the Retirement Quick Tips Podcast.